In this deeply partisan political climate, it may come as a surprise to many people that a group of Senate Democrats and Republicans come together each week to pray.
It is literally the most liberal Democrats and the most conservative Republicans. It's not just, the centrist group.
Democratic Senator Chris Coons, who leads the group with Republican Senator James Lankford, tells CBN News it's the best hour of his week.
We do two things we don't otherwise do. We listen to each other, and we trust each other.
The only non-senator present is Senate Chaplain Barry Black. Each week, a different senator is picked to share a message to the group.
Because what you're sharing is exactly what an opposition research guy would love to know in your next campaign. Your weakness. How have you fallen short? What's been difficult about your childhood, about your marriage, about your public service? These aren't just sort of easy, two-dimensional. These are folks really sharing of themselves.
They close each meeting holding hands in prayer. Coons says friendships made in the prayer group have helped improve his working relationships with members.
Look, it is really tough to throw a punch, at least verbally, on the floor of the Senate or in an interview when that morning you were holding hands in prayer. And that's powerful. That's important.
From your perspective being here, do you feel like Washington is as divided as it feels like on the news?
Yes. I'll tell you that the thing that's easy to miss is that we've got some incredibly smart and capable and motivated senators who all came here intending to make the country better. Yet we find it awfully hard to compromise.
One of the trends hurting relationships on the Hill is a lack of social interaction because lawmakers don't live here anymore.
A generation or two ago, all senators moved their families here. And so they knew each other as parents on the edge of a soccer or baseball field, as much as they knew each other as, combatants on the Senate floor.
And when you got up here, what did you expect as far as relationships with members of the other side of the aisle, and what have they been like?
Well, Joe Biden, who preceded me, talked a lot at home about his strong relationships. And, when I was much younger and in politics, he'd talk about my friend Orrin Hatch and my friend John McCain. And I think, oh, come on, you guys are, right? You don't share any core political views. And as I got here and I got the experience, and I'd have to say the blessing of serving with, legislating with, traveling with Senator McCain, Senator Hatch, and a dozen other colleagues, I gradually came to realize it really is possible to be genuine friends.
Coons says one of his best friends and mentors here is someone with whom he shares no political views, Republican Senator Johnny Isakson of Georgia.
If you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to, travel together, meet each other's families, spend time listening, you can build amazing relationships here.
He admits, though, some take a long time to heal, such as the recent Supreme Court confirmation of Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
There was a particularly heated exchange with Senator Graham, who I have traveled with, I've legislated with. I'm fairly close to Senator Graham. And that was a particularly hard moment for me.
A week later, Graham reached out to Coons with an invitation to meet with Jared Kushner and hear the administration's plan for peace in the Middle East. He admitted it took a few days of consideration before finally accepting.
And I came home and, my wife said, "What are you doing meeting with Lindsey Graham?" And I said, "Honey, I'm still mad about the Kavanaugh hearings. Don't get me wrong. I'm still upset about that. But it was a meeting about peace." And, my job is to figure out a way to keep working with Senator Graham on the things that we share and we care about and are important to our country.
Coons hopes in time they can overcome the past and reconcile.
It is hard. It is not easy to get over some of the fights we have here. But that's what I think the people of Delaware hired me to do, is to stick to principle on issues of core principle, but work across the aisle and find ways to respect each other and work together.
A strong motivation for Coons to restore relationships is his awareness that the world is watching.
And in dozens of countries around the world, they look at the Senate and they look at the Congress and they look at the United States and they say democracy doesn't work. Mm-hmm. That's bad. So I remind my colleagues, look, folks, it's not just our kids who are watching. It's our kids, it's the rest of the world, and it's history. And we have to show that this is the best way to resolve conflict peaceably and that we can really solve those problems that the average American wants us to tackle.
Coons tells me he hopes the upcoming divided Congress can force both parties to compromise on major issues that Americans are ready to see resolved. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.